Oh, sorry, restart. All right, just wanted to show, I got these new batteries in for this CM030, which is basically, kind of looks like a Glock, but it's an electric pistol, it's an AEP. It takes these little nickel metal hydrate batteries. And these aren't that great, they kind of produce a low amount of power for their size, and they go dead kind of fast. I actually have an adapter for these to go to my smart charger. All you do is you basically separate the wires, find which one's the positive on the to connect to the battery using a multimeter, and then just solder it onto a smart charger that can take less than half an amp of a charge. So, or the output's less than half an amp. Anyway, this is what it produces for rate of fire and velocity. At least on mine. Mine's not tuned, no upgrades or anything like that. So we're going to try it with a Lipo once we actually get them modded to fit. So, all right, make sure semi-auto. And then I don't shoot my chronograph. 190 feet per second. So about 180 to 190, give or take a little. And then here's the rate of fire. 13.45. Alright, well, we're going to go ahead and wire up a Lipo. Now what we found is, go ahead and take this apart, take the battery out. This is about the same size, but it doesn't quite fit, and it won't close. I actually kind of cracked my slide, or it opened the crack on the slide if it was already there when I tried to put it in. This one does fit. This is a 320 milliamp hour, 7.4 lithium poly, and it's made by Aero Models. I'll put the link in the video. It does come with a JST type plug, which is not that great for the airsoft application. It's more for they're actually more for ESCs, which are the basically the voltage or throttle controls for model airplanes. But it is a high output battery. It does have fairly decent wires on it, though these aren't probably as high output as they could be. I'm going to wire up a set of mini Deans connectors to it, mini Deans T's, and these are generics, I'm sure, and you see the size of them, and I'll go and grab a pair of regular Deans so you can kind of get an idea of what the difference is in scaling on them. There's a regular set, so you can kind of get the idea that they're a lot smaller. They're a little bit bigger than the JSTs, but the JS connectors aren't really a high amperage connector as far as I'm aware. I think they're kind of like less than an amp or two. And this battery actually outputs, a little mini one outputs 9 amps continuous, and the other one outputs, here, 25 amps continuous. So they're a high output battery, so I want to match a connector that can actually do that. I think the mini Deans are like 9 or 12 amp rated, somewhere in there. So they're a little bit closer. Better than what the other ones are. So, all right, thanks. Yeah, that's good. All right, for disassembling the gun to get to the wiring, what you need to do is you'll take out this component. There are 2 screws in it, and then you will remove this component, which sits in front of it, from out of this nozzle, which goes through this section here. And then you'll remove, well, actually, before you do all that, you have to remove this cover. There are 3 screws in it. It's not too complicated. It's just like 1, 2, 3. So you remove that cover, then remove the rails components. Push this pin out, remove the top plastic cover, and then remove this component out. You'll have to desolder these wires before you're able to lift it out. Then take this screw out of the battery terminal, and this component will fall out. You don't need it because it's just the battery extractor, which you're not going to use again anyway. And then go ahead and slip this back in, put this pin back in as well. And then you're going to need to extend these wires. There's the blue, which I assume is negative, and the red, which is, I assume, positive. I'll need to use a multimeter to check that. And then once you extend it, you put your Dean's connector on it and then reassemble the gun. I'm not going to bother putting these 2 components back in. I'm just going to baggy them. And if I ever decide to go back to nickel metal hydrate, I'll have the components to put it back. But I don't see a reason to put the parts back in because they just make everything a lot bulkier than it needs to be. All right. This is a pistol back together. The black plastic component, you do want that because it keeps your wires together and also holds your hop-up unit in place better. The blue wire is in fact negative, or the black wire, and red is red. So just to keep that together, that's with micro Deans on it. Now, something I have noticed in the past with these is there is no fuse in this pistol. I just think there probably wasn't any room for it. Now with these little micro lithium batteries, there is room, but not for anything really conventional, so I think you'll probably have to make something. Most of the holders are rather large. What we're going to do, and I'll do this, I'm not quite sure how good it will be, or how convenient it will be more like, is to wire up a fuse, just a blade fuse, and just directly solder it on. It's not really the way you're supposed to do it, but I suppose it's better than nothing. And then shrink tape the whole mess after clipping the legs of the fuse shorter. If there's a more compact fuse thing, or fuse setup, I'd go with that, but this is all I could think of for the time being. I'm not gonna put it in right yet, but if I have this thing in a holster, you definitely want a fuse on it so you don't have your lithium battery, catch fire or something amazing in your gun. I also think a 20 amp fuse is probably a little hot for it, probably more like a 10 or 15. As far as other battery options, these are the 850 milliamp. I was hoping that these would fit, but they're just too thick. So when you go to put them in the pistol, they won't stand up far enough, so they overhang too far. There's just no way that that's going to work as a inside the pistol mount, unless you were to split the cells apart, which I don't really like doing. I'd rather have like a factory battery. I just don't trust the homemade stuff. This is a cheapy pistol mount scope. They sell these with like those, like the cheapy pump shotguns. The Double Eagle, I think, makes them. And these come in the boxes with them normally, along with like a little laser sight and some other crap. Anyway, the flashlight itself doesn't work at all, really. I don't think you'd be able to read a book with it, let alone use it to light up hallways. But I noticed that there is about enough room in here to put an entire battery. It would have to basically take all this plastic out. All that would have to be removed. And I'm not sure if there are different styles of these. Some have external threading. They'd be a little bit bigger because that is not going to quite fit like that. So I had to cut that out and then glue this on just as a holder for the battery. If you have a better idea than that, go with it. And then for where the battery wires go, you'd pass them through this little hole. You can just push this out with like a screwdriver. It's a little fake serial number plate, and it's just blank plastic on the side of my guns. Aside from that, there's a little chunk of styrofoam in here that you could remove, and maybe that would allow you a little bit more space with the battery, but I just don't think that's going to quite fit. Even this one is as close as you're going to get in an 800 milliamp to fit, and it's still just too big. Aside from that, little 320 milliamp seemed to work, and being a lithium, it's going to have a little bit more output than this, which is a 500 milliamp nickel metal hydrate, but you really don't get to use it all anyway, because I'd say probably the last like 100, 200 milliamps are unusable to you anyway because the voltage drops too low. So hopefully we'll still be able to use it. A lot of people report after putting these kind of batteries in that they get about, especially with the 800, they get over a couple thousand shots with it. Hopefully the 300 will get about 500 or so before it needs to be recharged. All right, thanks for watching. Okay, so this is the battery in it. This is a 320 milliamp battery. It's a 30C discharge rate, so it actually puts out quite a bit of power. We've removed the battery contacts and instead has wired up for mini Deans connectors directly. And then we're going to go ahead and compare it with this other pistol, which is similar, but it's obviously not the same pistol, but the same maker. And compare it to the nickel metal hydrate batteries. And I'm going to go ahead and put my slide on. Now, you can see it's a little bit of a wrestling act to get this back in. And you just have to make sure you have all the batteries and wires and all that crap stuck in there. Hopefully I don't break my slide or anything. There we go. Okay. All right, we're good. You just have to work it in. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put it in full auto because you can't measure rate of fire without full auto. Okay, and I'll fire up the paragraph. because it's ready to go right away. Go ahead. This is a partially dead nickel metal hydrate, and I figured I'd give you a show what that's doing. Okay, so 9.61. Your gun shoots a little hotter. Wonder what's up with that. All right, and here's with a freshly charged nickel metal hydrate. Okay, and here is its twin with a lithium poly battery in. 17.56. Now, something I'll point out is that both batteries are essentially the same voltage. It's 7.2 versus 7.4. Basically, the only difference is that one battery produces more amps. So it's faster on the pull. So when I fire this, I'm going to move the Corona out of the way and just shoot it. There isn't really a discernible gearbox noise. So the gearbox sound is pretty much gone. All you hear is basically the shot. So it's winding and firing in basically an imperceivable amount of time. Either that or it's like pre-cocking a little bit, probably for overwind, because it generates more power, so. Yep. I might have my hop up on too high, but there you have it. These are old pistols, so I need to tweak them up a little bit more, but they've been pretty reliable. The misfeed isn't really related to the mod. It's just hasn't been used in a while, mostly because the batteries suck. All right, well there you have it. So it gets about 17.8 rounds per second, and a lot faster on the initial spin up. So you gain a lot. In fact, it's probably where it's gaining its rate of fire is on the initial spin up. It doesn't bog down as much on the as it's winding up for the shot. So basically you have more of an instantaneous trigger response, more like a gas pistol. Thanks for watching. Let's see what I mean.